Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I'm Utpala, and this is Foundation Course 8 on death and the realms of existence. And we're at class 8, moving right along. I can't believe we're at the end of our 4th week already. So before we get started, let's take a moment and set our motivation. Just bring to mind all the different kinds of beings we've talked about, the different ways that life as a living creature can manifest. All those different kinds of beings in the hell realm, different kinds of craving spirits, different kinds of animals, humans, different kinds of pleasure beings. And that each one of those kinds of life contain their own particular kinds of suffering. It feels very heavy to think about all of this suffering. There are countless numbers of these living beings. All the suffering of all the living beings, even in just this one moment, is intolerable. And it's tragic because it all comes from a mistake. the simple mistake of thinking that everything we experience is coming at us for no reason at all. The simple mistake that fuels the cycle of suffering existence. And because it's a mistake, we can have a correct view. The correct view being that everything we experience are mental images that are ripening from seeds of potential that we created by how we serve others. Simple. Even just thinking about that right now causes the cycle of suffering to start to crack. Having a direct experience of that will lead us to becoming a being that is free of this cycle of suffering. But just us being free of suffering is not acceptable. It'd be like being with your family and everyone is hungry and you cook a delicious meal and you sit in front of them and you eat it all yourself. You don't give any to them. Your hunger's gone, but theirs is not. really the only tolerable thing to do is to have this experience of things coming from us and not at us, with the idea that we could help all other living beings experience that as well and get out of suffering. And the only way we can help all others, truly, is to become a fully enlightened, fully awakened being. And so may our time together today plant 64 times, 60 times 75 seeds, potentials for becoming enlightened in order to benefit others. If you'd like to join me, Sashi Puki Jukshin Meto Dram Rira Blingshin Yende Kempadi Sangye Shingdu Mikde Uarki Jokun Namdak Shingla Jiparsho Iram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnirya Dayami Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chishegi Pe Sunam Ki Chola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chishegi Pe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Tu Parsho Sangye Charan Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chisheki Pe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Tu Parsho. So, are there any questions from last time? I think there was a question at the very end of class that someone put in the chat about uh, enlightened beings going to the lower realms. And yes, that is possible. They uh, remember, like two things have to happen, right? There has to be a being who uh, everything they everything that they think uh, is for the benefit of living beings, to bring them out of suffering. They don't have to like think about it. They're a being who automatically serves all living beings. They don't have to decide to go to hell. Oh, I'll go there today. If when a living being has planted the seeds to meet an enlightened being, or to meet the teachings of an enlightened being, uh, and the conditions are right, that meeting will occur. So if there is someone in the hell realms who has the karma, who has planted the seeds to meet a Buddha while in their, worst form of suffering, then yeah. So imagine how to plant a seed like that. I mean, first we can request it, please, uh, may I never be separated from the Buddha's teachings. May an authentic teacher always appear to me, especially when things are bad, when I'm hurting, when I'm really confused and don't know what to do. We can make requests like that. We can also dedicate like that. When we help someone, for example, when we give some food to a person who's living on the streets, we can direct that action uh, in that way. May, with this act of serving food to a person who is destitute and hungry, may the seeds I'm planting with that action ripen, that myself and all other beings get what we need. And you can use examples like that, like when I'm having my worst day, or when anyone is having their worst day. may the teachings appear to them and benefit them like that. So yeah. And then there's the story about Geshe Chekawat, as Maria mentioned in the chat. My favorite story from course 14 on mind training, developing a good heart. And this is about a person who practiced the teachings very well. And his desire, sorry, this breaks me up every time I think about it. I want to be like him. He found suffering intolerable, the suffering of other people intolerable. And he wanted to serve those suffering the most. And he had a strong desire to go to the lower realms to teach the beings suffering there. And he made prayers about that. And then as he was dying, I suppose someone who is an advanced practitioner, and they they're like a lot more conscious about what's going on in every second of their existence. So in their process of dying, they're aware of what's going on. And he starts to see that the Bardo being he's about to become is actually not a Bardo being at all. But then he's going to become enlightened, and he's like, no, I want to go to the hells and help people. That desire was so powerful that it's pushing him to enlightenment. Okay, were there any other questions or new questions? Today's class is a bit like story time. Um, we're going to go through the ideas of how worlds are formed. We talked a little bit about that before, about the swirling air, the disk of wind. But we're going to talk on a more grand scale. And we're going to talk about the coming of an enlightened being to an earth. finding my Tibetan class. Okay, get the chat from here. Oh, I figured out why I got psychedelic colors. So I know now how not to make that happen. Don't mistake the display contrast lever with the pointer size lever. Okay. Okay, so in our last two classes, we're going to be talking about death meditation from Jason Kappa's Lamrim Chenmo. But today we're like wrapping up with the Abhidharmakosha presentation of how universes are formed and die. So today's more of a, like, I don't know, story time than it is about like how to practice. But I'm sure that great practitioners that you are, you will find ways that this will be useful for you in your practice. So we're going to talk about Kelpa. And Kelpa is the Tibetan word for an eon. We're going to talk about 4 different kinds of eons. There's more than that, but we don't need to go into all of them. We'll just talk about the main ones. The first one is called Chikpe Gelpa. Chikpe Gelpa. And you may remember this word. It means destruction. Chikpa means destruction. So this is the eon of destruction. So what we're doing is we're talking about 4 eons that make up a cycle. And we're starting at the end. This is a tradition in our lineage, and I think, well, most definitely in our lineage, that's what I know, that we start with, like when we're doing breath meditation and counting breaths, we start with the out breath, right? And then in breath, and that's the continuation. That's 1. Here, when we talk about the 4 kalpas, we're starting with the last one. So this is the eon of destruction. And you can think about in your mind, why would we start at the end? Like, it's a good thing to think about. So 4 things are going on during the eon of destruction. At the beginning of the eon of destruction, it's the beginning is marked by no more living beings being born in Narme. Narme. We just talked about Narme 2 days ago. That's Avicii. That's the hell of no respite. The lowest hell. So the beginning of the eon of destruction, one of the marks is that no more beings being born in the lowest hell. Now, if you have the seeds ripening, if you're a being who has, for example, your karma threw you into a bardo being, an intermediate being that is going to the lowest hell, it's not like, phew, got out of that one. You will go to the lowest hell of another planetary system. There are countless numbers of those. So you're still going to take birth. It's just you're not going to take birth in this one. So the planet is getting ready to die. And you can't have any more hell beings because they live for millions of years, right? So that would take too long. Although this eon does take a long time as well. The second thing that's going on is that the human lifespan has reached 80,000 years. So on Zambuling, the southern continent, we talked about that as well earlier. So we're at the eon of destruction, the end of a cycle. As we go through a cycle of worlds, the age of or the lifespan of human beings also goes through cycles. And I just want to show you just a graphical representation of that. You don't need the words to understand. So here's the beginning of the cycle, and here's the end. And this line, okay, let me describe the other axis. This is time at the bottom. And this axis going up, this is lifespan in years. So the lifespans of humans over time cycles. It goes from 80,000 years down to 10 years. And then it grows back up or lengthens back up to 80,000 years. And then decreases again down to 10 years. So this cycle continues. So this actually happens to be the eon, the eon that happens right before the eon of destruction. So human beings have reached back up to 80,000 years of age in lifespan. Okay, so hell beings aren't being born in the lowest hells anymore. Human beings their lifespan has increased to 80,000 years. Next, third is there's no more birds as animals or craving spirits. So the hell realms are emptying out. The ones who are there are going to die, right? Eventually. And then also the animal and craving spirit realms are dying out. No more beings being born there. People who have created the karma to be born as an animal or craving spirit will be born in some other world system. And then the same thing happens with humans. Actually, we should say the upper realm. We talked about the lower realms, that hell beings, craving spirits, and animals. Same thing happens with the upper realms. First, no more humans, and they go up to the formless, the form realm. Remember, we showed that picture of the mandala where there's 17 different sub-levels in the form realm, and they're in this they're pictured above Mount Meru. So we start going up there, and each of the realms is dying out, and it goes in that order from hell beings on up through pleasure beings. So things are sort of collapsing, if you will. Until eventually the entire desire realm and form realm are emptied out. No more living beings on this planet. Now, how long does that take? There's a number for that. That takes Parkikalpa. Parkikalpa. Par, we've had that word in the word pardo, an intermediate, right? A pardoa, an intermediate being. So this is the it's called an intermediate eon, an eon in between. That whole process of living beings emptying out, that takes 19 intermediate eons. So the first 19 intermediate eons within the eon of destruction are for beings to empty out of this place and go to another place. Once all of the living beings are gone, then the whole physical world starts to break down. And there are 4 different ways it can happen. It can end by fire, by wind, I think by rain, and water, wind, fire, Oh, and people, but well, we'll get to people in just a second. So we'll talk about the fire method. Uh, First, the sun begins to supernova, and the heat of the sun becomes so much more intense, and the sun breaks into two. Uh, the rains stop falling on the earth, so the earth starts to uh, dry up. You know, first the smaller uh, lakes, and then the bigger lakes. I mean, in my country, we're experiencing that here. Actually, it's like, wait, living beings are still around. Then a third, the sun, continues to be breaking down, and a third one appears, and all the rivers dry up. And then a fourth sun appears, and all the lakes dry up. And then a fifth sun appears, or it is formed, and the oceans, including out to the great ocean, on that in that presentation of the world as a disk, that outer ring, that great ocean dries up. And then it breaks down into six suns. And then the continents and Mount Meru just go, poof, they disappear. And then a seventh sun, breaks down into seventh sun, and the whole world burns up. That continues, and it burns through the form realm. So that is the eon of destruction. So an eon of destruction takes 20 intermediate eons. So there was the 19 intermediate eons where living beings are, I don't know, being flushed out of the system. And then the last intermediate eon is when the physical world starts to collapse. So that's the first kind of eon. The second kind of eon we're going to talk about is we're going to cycle to the beginning, Chakpe Kelpa. Chakpe Kelpa. Chakpa here in this spelling means formation. Formation. See, it has this little character at the beginning. Otherwise, it would be desire without that. So this is formation of the world. This eon goes on for 20 intermediate eons. So We already talked about this one a little bit. In the first of the intermediate eons, in the eon of formation, the world starts to form. We have the disk of wind. It starts spinning, and it spins faster and faster until it becomes very hard. And things, you know, we get the mountains, and we get the continents, and we get the oceans. So that's going on during the first intermediate eon. Then the first beings, living beings, start to take birth on this new planet. And the humans, their bodies are made of light. Remember, we talked about that, there's no sun yet, so they get around because they're luminous. They're already illuminating things around them. They can fly. They're very gentle. And remember, we talked about the sustenance of, or the food for that kind of being is that, they just reach down and take a little scoop of earth and touch it to their mouth, and it just is absorbed by their body. And there's no digestive system, no excrement. They just can live off of the earth. Then they slowly start to do things that harm others, and their bodies start to change. At the very beginning, the lifespan of humans is, we had this word before, Hakme. Hakme. It's a it means immeasurable. Pak is a measure, and May is not. Hakme. But it apparently is measured by those, in the Abhidharma Kosha. So tse means life. Lo means years. So the measure of a person's life in years is immeasurable. So their lifespans are like millions of years, but they're starting to do negative deeds and create negative seeds, which are going to ripen into, negative experiences. So the formation eon, so that's how the formation eon starts. And then how the formation eon ends is when the first beings are born in the hell of no respite. So just as the eon of destruction was marked at the beginning by, no more births in the lowest hell, the beginning, I'm sorry, the end of the eon of formation is when the first beings are born in the lowest hell. So that's a cycle. Also, at the end, beings' lifespan is dropped from immeasurable down to 80,000 years. So now we know the formation eon is over, and now we've got a world. Now the next eon to talk about is, as you might imagine, the next would be, where is it here? There it is. Nepe Kelpa. Nepe Kelpa. And this is the eon of continuation. We can call this continue, Nepa. So this eon also goes on for the duration of 20 intermediate eons. So we know that human beings have, they've dropped from immeasurable down to 80,000 year lifespans at the end of the eon of formation. So now in the eon of continuation, the start point at that eon, which was here, the start point is 80,000 year lifespan. Now people are doing more and more bad deeds, and their lifespans continue to shrink over time. People have learned how to kill, how to steal, how to behave inappropriately, sexually, and all the others. So the lifespan of a human now is 10 years. So how this happens is that people are, around the world, people are killing and stealing from each other and lying. They start to create like powerful weapons that they can use to harm each other. And the Abhidharma Kosha tells a story of how some people are out picking berries one day, and so they leave the city and go out to the countryside to harvest berries, and the cities decide to unleash their weapons at each other, and they destroy each other. But there's just these few humans who are out picking berries who survive. They come back to the city. They're overcome with grief because everything is destroyed. All their loved ones are gone, and they give comfort to each other. So, in giving comfort to each other, and they're looking out for each other. They're the few survivors out of large numbers of people. They care for each other, and so they start creating positive seeds by caring for each other and loving each other. They, they continue on, as human beings do. They start making babies, and their community grows, and they decide they're going to live in community, but they're going to be in a community where everyone cares for each other and takes care of each other and doesn't harm each other, because of what they've just gone through, what they saw. And lifespans lengthen again. So they eventually rise up to 80,000 years again. And then it falls again. So in the continuation cycle, you can see there's 20 of these cycles. Start at a high, drop down, and it cycles until the end of the 20th intermediate eon. So then people like blow each other up, nearly destroy all living life. Not quite, but nearly destroy all living life 19 times, before the 20th intermediate cycle ends. So the 20th intermediate eon of the eon of continuation is on the upswing, right? Lifespans are growing longer. And then what comes next is the eon of destruction, where we talked about how lifespans, how people start at 80,000 years of age. So each one of these four, well, we've only talked about three so far. Each of these three are 20 intermediate eons in duration. And the lifespan of humans is cycling like that when they're around. The fourth eon we're going to talk about is called the, let's see where, here you are. No, it's not you. Did I not put, oh, there you are, up here. I didn't go up high enough. Kelpa Chempo. Kelpa Chempo. And Chempo, that means great, large, massive. So this is called the Great Eon. This eon, instead of 20 intermediate eons in duration, is 80 intermediate eons in duration. And a great eon is supposed to be actually comprised of the other three types of eons. The math doesn't math. It doesn't add up. If you have 3 eons, each with of 20 intermediate eons, that should be 60 intermediate eons. But the great eon is 80 intermediate eons. So somehow we've got another 20 intermediate eons going on. So that's like the cycle of the life of a world system. Talking about eons is something that like in the text, it says it takes 3 countless eons for a person who is practicing these teachings to become fully enlightened. 3 countless eons. So this kind of gives us an idea of how it fits and how much time we're talking about. De drangme sum la sangye. De means that, and it refers to a great eon. So that great eon. Changme, that means Chang means to count. So with the Mei, it means countless. Sum is 3. This law means something like after. And Sangye means enlightened being or Buddha. So that's how long it takes. 3 of these great eons in order to become, to have basically cleared away all your negative seeds and planted the powerful seeds that you need to become a person who can have boundless love and compassion for all living beings and can experience all things of the past, present, and future in each moment. That's how long it takes. Three countless eons. So when we think about all of this, and we think about, here I am. I'm on the down cycle of some intermediate eon, right? Lifespans are shrinking. They're down to, I don't know what they're down to. It depends on where you live. But on average, let's say 70 or something like that. 70 years. Some people live longer, some people shorter, but average. I don't know, I'm 3 years away from that average. It's becoming more and more real for me. That time, the time I have in this life, which is a precious one, in that, I have the ability to think and reason. I have the ability to put into practice what I've been taught. Uh, this life is, for me, will soon end. And out of the great scheme of things, it's just a little blip in the just even barely a moment in time. So I've been trying for 30 something years to put these teachings into practice. The Buddha, before he became enlightened, it took him 3 countless eons to collect the kind of positive karma that would result in becoming enlightened. So when when do Buddhas appear? I don't know, just to wrap that up, it was just like makes me think that I just reminds me of how fleeting this life that I have is, and how I should really take advantage of it and not waste it. Not let it just run out. So when do Buddhas appear in a world? They appear in what's called a Kelpa Sangpo. Kelpa Sangpo. And Sangpo means good or fortunate or wonderful. So this is the eon of good fortune. So we are right now in an eon of good fortune. And this is all in the readings too. So within this eon of good fortune, there are going to be 1,000 different enlightened beings, 1,000 Buddhas. We've had 3 so far. So hey, if our lives are shrinking, we're down to 70, and we've got 1,000 more Buddhas, or 997 more Buddhas to come. It must be we're just at the end of an early intermediate eon. So Buddhas appear, they manifest to humans, not when things are going well, not while human beings' lifespans are increasing, they appear when things are bad. They appear at the downward cycle. Where things are on their way down. I mean, and generally it is that our type of life form, we have to be like motivated to do something other than our habitual pattern. So, like, in order to really hear the teachings of the Buddha, and to want to practice those teachings, we have to be motivated to do so. And our motivation usually works strongest when things are not going well for us. Like for me, I met the Buddha's teachings when I was in in a lot of mental turmoil. I was clinically depressed, suicidal. And it was at that moment that I met the teachings. Like almost immediately. But anyway. So Buddhas appeared during when times are pretty bad for living beings. They don't appear so much during the period between like 100, when lifespans are 100 years old, down to 10. They don't appear when things are that bad. But like I said, we can tell that we're you know towards the end of an intermediate eon. Lifespans are getting shorter. There's, we've got countries bombing the hell out of each other. We've got a lot of deception and fraud that exists in the world. Things are not great. Things are not great. And we can talk about, they've got a name for this. It's called Nyikmanga. Nyikmanga. And this means the 5 degenerations. So these are signs that we're meeting the end of an eon. The first of the 5 is called, where'd you go? Senikma. Senikma. Say again is life. So this means that life is fragile. There are many diseases. There are many ways to die. It's very easy for humans to die in this time, in the time of degeneration. The second sign is Nyomoniki Nikma. Nyomo or klesha means negative emotions. mental afflictions, bad thoughts. In this, it's not talking about negative emotions in general. It's talking about people who are not ordained, like lay people and just ordinary people. They start to have no interest in doing anything to benefit anyone else. They're just interested in looking out for themselves. That's it. So, like the idea of charity or the idea of taking care of other people, the idea of sending firefighters out to another country when they're having a fire, or the idea of sending emergency crews and supplies to a country where a tsunami has occurred. You know, those ideas are ending. People don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to help each other. Not so important. The next sign, the third sign, is Semchen Kinyekma. And Semchen means living beings. And here, what this means is it refers to our bodies, our physical bodies. Meaning that the thing that holds the mind. Sem, Chen. Chen means to possess or to hold, and Sem is mind. So the thing that holds the mind, and that's the physical body. The state of the physical body of humans is getting worse and worse. People are not in good shape. They're not physically strong or coordinated. They're not very well proportioned, like that. The fourth sign, so that was the degeneration of living beings. The fourth is the degeneration of time. Dukinikma. Du means time. And what this is talking about is that that food in the crops, the food we have, it becomes less powerful. So it doesn't like allow for a long life. The food is weak. The food is not as nutritious. You can eat all you want, but that you don't get the elements, the minerals, the proteins, etc. You don't get what you need. So we become less healthy. And then the fifth one is Tawa Nikma. And Tawa means a view, a philosophical view. So this is the degeneration of worldview, which means that now people who are ordained don't have interest in helping other people, don't have interest in morality or ethics. So those are the 5 degenerations in our sojang, our confession ceremony that we do as monastics. We talk about every 2 weeks, the 5 degenerations that scourge this world. So they say that people nowadays say that we're on the border, right? We had a Buddha, he came, it was 2,500 years ago from us. People aren't really interested in the Dharma. People not many people seem to be very interested in doing good things, of being virtuous. So things are coming to a close, we're very close. When people stop, when they hear the teachings and they think about applying it to their lives, and they stop doing that's a sign that we're near the end. I think maybe, well, Geshe Michael is so keen on talking about how to put the teachings into practice. Like, he doesn't give a single class without talking about that. I think he's like working against people losing that interest. He's trying to keep us interested in the teachings and planting good seeds, of course. So, about it taking 3 countless eons to reach enlightenment. There is a shortcut. There is a secret door, through that passage of time that zips you through. What would it be, like a wormhole in space? We can take the wormhole from our current human existence to experiencing ourselves as a fully enlightened being. And that wormhole in this context is the Diamond Way. The teachings and practice of the Diamond Way. If we receive an authentic transmission of the Diamond Way, if we enter properly, if we do the practices, we'll be taught. If we do the retreats, if we keep our tantric vows, our diamond way vows, then we can become enlightened in this lifetime. It's difficult to talk about diamond way when, this is an open class. This is what they call a sutra class. It's not a tantra class. And the secret way, the diamond way, is only talked about at the level through which we could become enlightened in this lifetime. It's not talked at that level to anyone who has not entered the diamond way. So I can't talk about specifics because I don't know who you are who's watching this. And if I don't know who you are, then I can't, because that's a vow I want to keep. And I just disclosed to you something that, I had not disclosed before. Those of you paying attention. So anyway, generally speaking, the practice of the diamond way is nothing like what culture likes to paint it as. It's not dirty sex and doing things with the wrong hand, and it's not anything like the way it's talked about by people who know nothing about it. It's not the way it's talked about in the Hindu tradition either. It's entirely based on working with this body and mind we have right now at such a subtle level that we can, when we practice, we can make the karmic seeds we're planting so much more powerful. So we're working at a very subtle level. And that's why we can have the power to collapse 3 countless eons into this lifetime. And we have to do it. The suffering of this world is intolerable. It's unacceptable that suffering goes on like this, that these wars are happening, that this fraud is happening, that this not caring about other people and what they are feeling or what their needs are. It's not acceptable. And that's the kind of motivation with which to enter the diamond way. We just can't take it. The suffering must stop. And then entering the diamond way, it's it's challenging, and it's also a joy. So if you have an interest to enter the Diamond Way and haven't yet, uh, I invite you to consider uh, taking taking a transmission, an invitation to the Diamond Way from Geshe Michael, happening in October. They are still accepting people's applications. And if you feel strongly that the suffering of this world is unacceptable, and that this life is so precious and so short, that we must use it to the highest potential, then please do register. I invite you to come. Okay, that's all the content for this class. Uh, does anybody have any questions or comments, or do you just want to go on with your day or evening? Do you just want to go jump on your meditation cushion? Okay, I'll let you go jump on your meditation cushion, but let's dedicate our time together. Oops. So just take a moment. Rejoice about your interest in the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings that when we put into practice, we can get out of this cycle of suffering. And we can help all other living beings. So rejoice about your interest. Rejoice about all the other people who have the same interest. That there's a community of people we can call on in our practice. So precious, so necessary. Rejoice in these live translators who make it possible to understand the teachings in our own language. It's amazing good karma. Incredible. rejoice that we created this thing called the internet, a connection of different computers in people's homes all around the world. And we can talk with each other. We can be together. We've shrunk space down. I don't have to get on a plane and travel 26 hours to be with you. It's simply amazing. Rejoice that we're living in a time where a person has studied these teachings well, who has touched the diamond world, and who has created these courses for us, who has taught us, is teaching us in a way that makes the teachings real. It's really an amazing, immense amount of good karma that we've used in this class. And we're also creating more through our rejoicing about all of these amazing, wonderful things. May they continue. May they become even more strong, even better than we can even imagine right now. And may we all quickly in this life have the experience of ourselves as a fully awakened being. Sashi Puki Chukshi Meto Tram Riva Blingshi Minde Gempadi Sangde Chingdu Mite Uwaki Chokun Namdak Shingna Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandala Kamniyatayami Kewadi Kewoku Tsunam Yashe Tsoksokshi Tsunam Yashe Lechungwe Tampar Kuni Topar Sho. Thank you so much. I really nothing better to do with my time than this, to be with you. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And I love you all. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you next Wednesday.